In this video we're going to look at how to create various kinds of hyperlinks in a web page. Hyperlinks aren't really that tough, but there's a few ways that we can use them, and there's certainly a few practices you can get under your belt in order to be really successful when you use them. There, so here's my web page. I've got a headline 1 and a paragraph. Currently I don't have any hyperlinks. Let's see how my page looks at the moment. Okay, here's my page on the web. Hyperlinks on the web. Hyperlinks allow visitors to your page to click on text or images so they can be taken to a different page. Sometimes those links will display an image, download a PDF file, or download some other kind of file. But most of the time, a hyperlink goes to another web page. Let's start off with a basic hyperlink. There. I've got a basic text hyperlink to Google's page. Now the key thing here is that I'm using the anchor tag with the hyperreference attribute. Now the value for the hyperreference attribute is the complete URL to the web page that I want to go to. So let me modify this. This is a basic hyperlink to an external site or page. If you want to link to a web page or website that is outside of your own domain, then you use an absolute URL. An absolute URL is a complete web address, generally starting with the HTTP Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Now the text that's in between my opening anchor tag and my closing anchor tag is going to be the hyperlink text that the visitor sees on the web page. Let's test it out. There. The words Google's page is a hyperlink, so when a visitor sees this and clicks on that link, they'll be taken to Google's website. Now this is of course a custom Google homepage for my own browser, but otherwise it would work just fine. And go back to my hyperlinks page. There, so that's a basic text hyperlink to an external site or page. Now, what if I wanted to make a basic hyperlink to an internal page? Now this is going to come up quite a bit. Whenever you're making a website being 2 or more pages related to the same topic, you're going to want to link one page to the other and vice versa. So in this situation, a basic text hyperlink to another page. There. So now I have a basic hyperlink to an internal page. Now, if the page you're linking to is within your own domain, and even more so if it's within the same folder as the page that has the hyperlink, then all you need to do is reference the file name for the page you want to link to. This is called a relative hyperlink. So, since the file name stylesheets2.html is in the same folder as the page I'm working on right now, which is called hyperlinks.html, this will work just fine. Let me save it, go back to my browser, and refresh. So, we've already tested out my Google's page link. Now I'm going to test out my another page link. And there's my other page that I referred to. Click the back button and go back. So a relative link refers to the specific file name either in the same folder or within some subfolders. For instance, if I knew this page was in a subfolder, I could refer to that subfolder with the subfolder name / and then the file name in question. Since they're in the same folder, I don't need that. So those are 2 basic text hyperlinks. Whatever the user sees as a hyperlink is the text that's in between the opening and closing anchor tags. Now that we know this, what if I were to take both of these examples duplicate them. Now let's do an image hyperlink to an external site or page and an image hyperlink to an internal page. Well, the structure of the anchor tag doesn't have to change at all. If it's an image hyperlink, the anchor is still going to be the same. I still want to do an anchor with a hyperreference that leads to the Google page. The only difference now is instead of somebody clicking on text, I want them to click on a picture. Well, no big deal. If I want someone to click on a picture instead of text, wherever my text is, I get rid of it. and instead I put a picture there. And I'm going to press my Enter key just to give myself some line room here. So in between my opening and closing anchor tags, I'll put an image in. And in between my closing and opening anchor tags down here, I'll put an image. Okay, so now that I have image tags replacing my former text, I just need to put some images in there. I already have a couple images saved in the same area as my HTML files. There. So now this entire image of Homer Simpson is a hyperlink to the Google website. This other picture of Homer Simpson is a link to my other web page. So making an image into a hyperlink is done simply by putting that image in between the opening and closing anchor tags. Now you'll notice that my images as hyperlinks do have a default border around them. Images as a hyperlink get a border. Well, to prevent that from happening, you can simply turn borders off with your style sheets. To get rid of those borders, I can simply move up to my styles, my embedded styles, and I can tell the browser that my image, all images, image in this case is a type selector, should have a border of 0 pixels. Now in my browser, those borders are gone. My images are still hyperlinks, they just no longer have a border. Now there's something else we might want to do, and that's have a link on one part of the page to another part of the page. That's pretty easy as well. Now for this one I'll put a link above my basic links. Alright, so this text, see my sample of internal link, I want to have it hyperlink down to my sample of an internal link. Now for this to work, my sample of internal link is going to need an ID. So in the headline 2, I'll put in ID equals internal sample. Not using any spaces for this. Using a hyphen instead of a space. ID equals internal sample. And my hyperreference to that will be # internal sample. Let me save this, browser, refresh. So now if I were to click on this link, my hyperlink to an internal page sample is right here. With CSS, you can control the various stages of the hyperlinks using pseudo classes. Anchor, you can control several basic states. There's link, visited, hover, active, but I'm going to focus on simply these two pseudo classes. The color of my links and the color of my links when I hover over them. So I've rigged it so that my links will be red, and when I hover over them, they'll be green. Refresh. There we go. Hover over them, they'll be green. So let's try something else. My links will have no underline, and they'll be bold. When I hover over them, they'll be green with a yellow background. Red, bold, no underline, hover over them, green with a yellow background. So just a couple ways that we can control and use hyperlinks in a web page.